I would make it a felony for you to use the family restroom at an airport if you are not a family or if you are not using it for medical reasons. I came to this conclusion yesterday that if I were king, I would put a law enforcement official outside of every family restroom in every major American airport in this country. And if somehow you tried to go in there to treat it like your throne to get some privacy at the airport, well, guess what? You're going to prison. That's it. We're putting you right in the can. No ifs, ands, or buts. No question. If we catch you using the family restroom while I sit outside of that said family restroom with a 2.5-year-old who's got a case of diarrhea because you wanted privacy, you inconsiderate. I don't want Garner to have to hit the dump button here. John's off, Mark's off. You know, it's me and Gardner holding down the fort here. I don't want him to hit the dump button. So I got to take it easy here for a second. But you understand where I'm going with this. We cannot end up in a situation where I've got a toddler who I got to get to the bathroom. And by the way, for those of you asking, yes, I tried to go into the men's room when I realized the family restroom was full. And guess what? Every stall was taken up yesterday at JFK as I'm trying to come back from my sister-in-law's wedding. So I don't know what was in the water there in the terminal, but I go to the family restroom with a 2.5-year-old. It's full. I go into the men's room trying to find a stall for her. Every one of those are full. And then I come back to the family restroom, and I wait, and I wait, and I wait. And I'm waiting because our flight was delayed by 4 hours yesterday, which I'll get to here in a second. And finally, I'm like, I got to bring her back to mom. I mean, I don't know what to do here. I don't know why this individual is not coming out of this family restroom or these people. I don't know what's going on. So I start walking back. And then as I turn around, I see the door open. And out walks, guy looks like he's traveling for business. I mean, I was about, I'm getting pissed now. I was about to lose it. If I didn't have my daughter in my hands, that guy would have had a piece of my mind. I cannot believe the audacity of people who treat the family bathrooms at airports like they're personal thrones. They're not. Grow up. Go use a public restroom. And for those of us who actually need to use a family restroom because, we're families, think about somebody other than yourself for once. I know we don't do that in America in 2023, but it's just driving me nuts. The text line is 913-408-7957. So, listen, if I ever run for office, it's going to be on that platform. I will jail people who use family restrooms as their thrones. I think this will be as bipartisan a movement as there's ever been, at least in the last 25 years or so. Who's going to be against that, by the way? I mean, maybe there'll be some narcissists who aren't fans of it. You know what? I know who will be against it. It'll be the single narcissists who believe that life is all about themselves. They never have relationships. They never get married. They never have kids. Aren't people now marrying themselves? I think I've seen that. At least a couple of folks. I've seen people marry themselves. They love themselves so much. Those people will be upset by this policy. But you know what? That's okay. I'm happy to piss those people off. Everybody else, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Green parties, Libertarians, they're all going to be coming together around this movement, around my vision of airports in America. And that is a cop outside of every family restroom. And if you sneak in there, you're going to prison if you're not there for family or medical needs. That's it. But it was a nightmare yesterday. We had a 2:30 flight, didn't leave till 6:45, courtesy of the incompetency that remains JetBlue. I will never in my life, if I can avoid it, which is always a big if because the airline options just stink to high heaven these days. never fly that garbage airline ever again. This is the second time in a week I had a multi-hour delay with these clowns. The first one was Black Friday. We got on the plane, and then we got off an hour and a half later because a latch on an overhead bin was not working, and it happened to be the latch of the bin that had the life raft in it, in case we end up in the Mississippi, since, who knows who's flying these planes anymore. And then yesterday, we get on the plane, everything's fine. Now, Black Friday, I was traveling by myself. Yesterday, I had the girls. So we get on the plane, everything's good. We're going to the tarmac. We're sitting on the tarmac, half hour. I'm like, okay, not a great sign. Maybe it's just a little, slow to get out of here. Who knows? Half hour, 40 minutes later, pilot, I hate to break it to you guys. The audio panel server's not working here on the cockpit in the plane, so we're going to have to go back to the gate. The problem is we don't have a gate to go to, so we're going to hang tight here for a little bit, wait for an open gate, and then go back in. You didn't think, listen, I'm not an engineer, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn last night. You don't check the audio panel server before you pull out of the gate? It doesn't seem that difficult to me. Why are you putting 150 people on a plane without knowing if one of the big equipment pieces is working? And then you got to go back and try to find a gate, and the whole thing's a mess. So we got to change gates, change planes, and then what happens? It got even worse. I get on the plane, I'm looking at my phone, I'm looking at the mobile tickets, and I realized they rebooked the tickets because it's a different plane, and they booked 2 adults, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old in different rows. 4 people, 4 different seats, 4 different rows. And I started waving down a, what would you call him? Flight attendant. And I said, we got a problem here. And you know what she says to me? She goes, I don't have a problem. You have a problem. And I'm telling you, I mean, I almost lost it. When she said that, I almost became the guy that you would have seen all over cable news this morning going nuts on a flight attendant when she said that to me. It is a piece of crap airline that I will do everything in my power to fight against and never fly again. Well, many of you are asking, so let me just finish that story there. When it comes to what happened when I got on the airplane last night after a 4-hour delay and realized they had put a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old together. No, the airline didn't do a damn thing about it. They told me why they couldn't do anything about it. It took a good Samaritan who had her 2 daughters who were 10 and 8 years old sitting next to each other, who said, you know what, we'll move around. My girls are a little older. They'll be fine. And we were able to sit them, the 2 girls next to each other, and the mother right behind the 2 girls. And she goes, I've been in your shoes. I know what it's like. And she was able to move, which then gave us 4 seats together. So no, JetBlue didn't do a damn thing about it. They just brought some poor schlep back to tell me why they couldn't do anything. So what I was going to do is basically sit with a 2.5-year-old and a 4-year-old on each of our laps, even though, of course, we had paid for 4 seats. So, I mean, it's just JetBlue has become Spirit Airlines. They all suck in some ways, but it's really bad what's happened to that airline. They used to be top of the line when they first came out, the TVs, the whole thing. But they're kind of like the Range Rover. They look really good. They're cool. They got the TVs. Everyone thinks they're the hot new thing, but they literally can't function.